Kwalebu was, I think, 380.
380 Ghana cedis.
Yes. But private, some are 500, 450, some are 800, 860.
Per session,
yes.
You have to do 2 every
week.
Yeah.
Even if someone earns 5,000 Ghana cedis every month, that person cannot keep paying 380 cedis 3 times a week for dialysis.
Majority of the people who need dialysis to survive in Ghana don't even earn half of the amount mentioned.
Some people battling organ diseases end up losing their jobs because their companies cannot keep paying them for always being absent.
How are these people expected to afford the monies needed for dialysis as well as other expenses, talk less of the huge amounts they have to come up with for transplantation surgeries outside Ghana when they get donors?
It is because of these people that GhanaWeb in August 2023 launched the organ donation legislation campaign to push for the country to pass a law that will guide organ harvesting and transplanting.
As Kwalebu plans to increase dialysis fees, the situation requires quicker attention and action.
And so, we must get Parliament to start discussing the organ donation bill and pass it into law.
Now, when this bill is passed, more lives will be saved and the financial burden on patients would be reduced.
And that is why we need you to join us on this campaign. Join the campaign by sending a 1-minute video of yourself sharing why Ghana needs a legislation on organ donation now to editor@ghanaweb.com or via WhatsApp 0552 699 625. Alternatively, you can share the video directly on your social media handles with the hashtags #PassOrganDonationLaw and #LegalizeOrganDonationNow. Organ failure should not be a death sentence.
Hello, this is Dr. Samson Asala from the Medifem Multi-Specialist Hospital and Fertility Center. Today, on your breast tips, we are going to talk about the disease progression of breast cancer. We will be doing an introduction into what disease progression is and its importance. Disease progression describes how any condition starts from one end and becomes complicated or spreads and can cause other things. This is similar to how a child, for example, goes from class 1 to class 2 to class 3, class 4, and so on. The importance of understanding the progression of breast cancer is that it helps us to know what are the treatment options, when can we use certain treatment options, and then what are the types of tests that we require at the different stages of breast cancer. Join us again as we go into detail about the disease progression on our next episode. Thank you. Hello, my name is Dr. Samson Asala from the Medifem Multi-Specialist Hospital and Fertility Center. Today on your breast tips, we are going to continue our talk on the disease progression of breast cancer. Breast cancer goes through 3 identifiable disease stages. The first one is the localized breast cancer. Then we have the locally invasive breast cancer. And finally, the metastatic breast cancer. Today, we will talk about the first 2. Localized breast cancer is that breast cancer in which the breast cancer cells are restricted, they are limited to the tissue from which they arise. This means that it's often difficult at this stage to even feel that there is a cancer going on, but this is the easiest stage to deal with. Next is the locally invasive breast cancer. At this stage, the cancer cells begin to move out of the tissue they started through what is known as lymph vessels. Lymph vessels occur all over the body, And when the cancer cells begin to spread, they travel through these lymph vessels and enter what is called lymph nodes. The closest lymph nodes to the breast are in the axilla, also known as the armpit, and then along the sternum. Next time, we will talk about the metastatic breast cancer stage. Join us then. Thank you.
On today's edition of Campaign Trail on GhanaWeb TV, we've traveled all the way from Accra to the Ashanti region. We are here at the Asokwa Constituency, where we will be touring some towns and electoral areas, including Chirapatre, Kuwait, Aprabo, Oti, Dompoase, Atonsu, among other areas, to find out from constituents what their major challenges are and what they also want government or the Member of Parliament for this constituency, Patricia Appiagyei, to look at. Join me, Ernestina Sawa Santi, as we find answers to these and many more. Now I am in the Kuwait, Aprabo and Oti electoral area, and I have with me two people that are going to share their thoughts on the sitting Member of Parliament's performance. Madam Honorable Patricia Appiagyei, the performance the same waha.
Oh, the performance na the wayebi. Ba nyani nyina na yebeka so waye. If it's a baller no mo de ababe tumi ate no. Baller no mo ma entontomo we yedodo. Omo bra mo chemical so mo fa ngutu mai chemical ni ehunu hwe. Eti ama ntontom na wi ana ewe ye nti ate ndie ye o ma we problem pa. Eti ane ne yesira ne tanko na omo baba beka na aduo no motimi dia begutu na ntontom no so aye den abra so ama ye. Eti wutu pie kura bo na num kura de ko wuntimi ntina abontene. De to wuru adem. Enti ade ba ko ha ye no no. E na ade ba ko so atan ha ye biemu no etotum ye no nse. Ye ntuo tem no ho oden wa ha ten. So ko bi fie kana ko tan ntu a enam to wunni bie nti uyi so aban pipe nti ukona ko pe ntu a wo mpa ma
waye kwanya maye ye lightings waya me ade ha me aye bola no bola nde esre wo mo pa wo mo ye de mo se wo mo betu afran still na eda so nti esre ne se bola nde wo mo betu ase maye
answer na betu aba ne den na wo hwe wo nipa na obegina nimu ansa wato ama no
oh me hwe na de a waye ne nkankwa what mama okuro no kra ye da atumpon visa first ye betna akwa ye beta 22 years ni na kwa we edu ana pakra ntimi mfa ha emfuturo ne na edoto emfuturo ne na edoto nti na me adom 2024 2023 to 2024 wa ye kwa na ma ye kra ye nwa ye dai atoye ye light system de any problem tell me nua ba na kan
sisi ase ye maame Appiagyei wo wade ono an ye beto ama no na wa kɔ nanim oh ni nyuma pa wa ye nti ene ye beto ama na me na kɔ nanim.
So still on Campaign Trail on GhanaWeb TV, we are currently at Dompoase in Kumasi under Asokwa Constituency. What you can see behind me is the Dompoase bus terminal, which was constructed by the governing New Patriotic Party under the leadership of Honorable Patricia Appiagyei, who ensured that this project was constructed up to speed. We are currently here and we'll speak to some constituents on her performance and what other developmental projects they expect to see here in the Asokwa constituency. Come with me.
Media mama past ampino dia me kwa dia me hunu so sa. Adia me hunu so sa ne se station we no kura ye teye no ona ma station we ye nyina. Omo TB wo high school wo se mpanimfo dia sojafo be gu kwa wo se omo nyina amla ba maame no ma ye ti ase se omo mu gina won di omo nyina ye na ne ni ba bi gina nti ye mra ha nti ye ba sa na ma obi a sa dutu ne ka ko high school nti na station we na nyina no nti na mpi ne dia me ankasa pa dia me hunu na mpi boa wo de boa ye wa.
So Patricia said December elections then a be influence your decision to vote for a candidate, either MP and as a presidential candidate.
Media ampino dia me ntimen to aba mana dia
Me adwuma no so aya me hu dwuma be na oye wa ha. Me hu dwuma be na oye wa ha.
We be ka say wa ye bus terminal ama se ne amote mu wa ha se.
Wan kafra o. Wa ye adwuma we kama e fe. Na ka bia enye adwuma wa ha. Wu na be fa wo nan si fom. E be gina so. Na wo fa wo nan si fom a e ne be ye adwuma. Wa se ha kama. Ye nyina en ka se enye wo. Ye be da gu. Se fi aye gina ho. E du yesu a ni afre ni akolodu agogo. Anta ni akwa prabon. Aha de gina ho kwa. Nipa ba kokura ni ho ba hwe. Teka wo ba hu ka. O ka ni nyina askata. Lady wu na ye MP wa ha. Wu na be force wa ha be gina. Na za ntumi force aha gina de a. Me hu duma be na oye wa ha.
Nyama be na wo be hwe na wo de ato aba.
Me nipa me to aba ma no o mitim.
Oh, puti duma de. Why be but enough? The why yes ya what taking was Constituency no. And then who adwuma na also why no. Because the follow the colleagues no more parliament. Bebre 8 years but who ko mo pesu aso a adwuma o my no is more than now matwa no because who ko 20 years.
More expected then.
We expect more because yes now I spending more. I also more development than we know on pesu aso. Because I spent more years our parliament. So what me nya niam bebre ba on pesu aso. O sai kwa this way man say ye be ko fan e bia na no ma head akọ ibe ye gates nya de no ma ye camouflage bi no o me so mu di bt di page no but say ni page no ni e crazy kura ni gina man de wi ba manana ne.
Mo MP ye mama part.
Ai, ye nipa ma Patricia Appiagyei.
Ene onim.
Ahofadua papa bi. Oba na anim tie, oba onim nyansa, oba owa kukuduro. Ai, ye da no pa, wa ya de chapatere man mu ha, wa ma ye nya ekwan no fefefe. Na kane no na ye mfuturo nko a. Na makas no kura ntimi mfa kuro nim. Enso na darment say ya na artifact. So what you say? Ah, it's my part. Ye da ase. Na emom de hia me pa kese ne say. Afi we abato ye a ye beto yi. Ye beto ama no na emom no. O ma ya sika na ye so dwadifo so ye ntimi emfa nhye ye dwadiem. Na ye so yasene munye duru. Ye challenge pa kese ne say ye nua mo NDC fo. Omo say I think ye to abanma wo mo na so emom ye da kra ye nto because ye nim de ma part wa ya ama ye. Me mom de since adubu ahen time na mensa we ento ma NDC biom na emom no omo bade a ye de ye beje ye nyina sika na ye de a
me de me hu se wase tunsuo e wo chapatere state no
apart from that then why
me de ni asotef no ko a wo ye na tunsuo no ko na me hu but if you kon de me hu hwe biom de
na street light
oh street light ne de tana o tana mu na me hu bi na adesen de street light ze bi ni musa
mama party de wa ya de na metiesi o continuation ho ensuo ta ka ma ho ene wa gu ho ma ba bia e hu kota aya de ntimi de ono na meto ama no.
Our current location is the Ahinsan Township, where we are here to solicit for the views of some residents here on the performance of the Member of Parliament for Asokwa Constituency, Patricia Appiagyei. We also want to hear from them whether or not she has embarked on several developmental projects and the way forward on how to improve the conditions of living here at Ahinsan.
Bema, the metri say about one abaton. Ye say no mum by a mramaye, a no more day. I no more day pa. Ye pay the better aba, and no more guamaye. Say ye did dry, bet me a corn one ramaye. They say yet to more dinty a ton dear cla, and coso and tardy. Tie say ye to abama when no more guamaya, and one year she.
Na ha say no challenges when I move face and then am person MP mama.
Oh, ya hade. Ye de obia abon ho modern. Ye ukasa MP mayama wa enye ye chese. We me kasa wo mayama me we nso bakasa be yama me. Nti ni nyina ne se wa wo be bon ho modern. Se wo be ye wa ade a e be bo.
Ti nyama ben na we say MP aye wo ha say.
Oh, MP de oye ne ye hu se ka kwam ya na wo mfutukwan mu ha. Me hu se afi we o ma ba ba ye kwan na amaye. Today, who is on so by an Indian?
After touring some electoral area, we are currently at the Agogo North electoral area where we have the Kumasi South Hospital. We will take a look at some infrastructural development that has been embarked on in the health facility. But then we'll also speak to some people on the performance of the Member of Parliament here and also get to know some of their challenges.
Oh, my part, the performance, Agogo has any idea. They say, Metimaka say, ne penso betana so idea. Ye kwan ne street in idea. Why dear? Nemo Magogo Quaimoa, ye adwuma wo mu no. Wani amoye fa baby. Cause na station kese wa ha. Ana wa yikodom pass side honomo. E honomo so no anyina wa makoye ni amanyam. Ama maye tonton ade say station ni kura mu. Adwuma nyina ye basa. Ya Aban hospital na a taxi for wa ha say because of ayalifo no na omo hu omu mobo ama omo be gina ha say. Tinke be se ni say su factory honum da ho. Enwura na afu ho honum yi. Tinke on keka ne nsa ase ni ehu ni mpanyimfo. Anko mebie station kakra man. Na se no obi be didwa wa Agogo agi so kodom pass aprabon. Nya kofo ka enye ana krona nkasa so public toilet nim. On assemblyman. Tisa fidikese omuti yanka atonsu Agogo omuni public toilet. Ensuo eniha. Akoye individual na bie ni nsuo na nkofo akototo. Nti kroni ekura yeso. Tinadaroma. Ontwe na ni mehwe. Sa no mani nyina.
As it means say election nyama wake omonye ya ombetiatia omana.
Oh. Ono ni party ne de yensa anka de a ebetia no. But the aka ne de enfanto.
The performance na e wo form nti ama ekrofo bebe so meto skirt and blouse nti onye ha say toilet ni ha ha say ankasa so baby egu ball ni ha na ono so ye to ban man kwa yensa ehu no ye ehu no kosi se 4 years ne be so nti
den na pese muhu wo ha say
ye pese ehu ni se onye mputu adwuma no omane onye nwum no omie bi adwuma ma youth fo no nya binye na wo kosusura se otimi kwa wonhwe na aban no wo hospital se kakura do so bebele dodo insurance na nya hwe utwe sika saa nti wo de se nyame bwana so otimi kwa ye bompa se ontimi enhwe no onka ni nyina ma ye ne ye bele wonyem kula wo bebele saa kwa ye sa ba ji sika nyina na wo mo insurance no mo nhye mu kina na ntimi nya adwuma yi na enhwe ya ye wa hye Ghana ma na ye enhwe ye yi na ye bele
oh waye bi de me mani hu ni se atonsu school mu wono mo park no waye na enyuma a ewo district ase waye bi and de ebetimi abona abaso waye bi nipa de oya ade a sayeye pavement no yete so a dangerous pa ye pese ma part o ma ye baby tina na ye ton ade pavement no eno ne me hawa ha me a me ka kire no si esre na ye pa na cho esre na ni die o ma ye baby a ebetimi adi dwane atimi dia ahwe ye ma na omu fefe ba no omu ko school no eno ne me hawo.
Our guest is one of the women making strides in society. She was the first female mayor of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly and currently the Member of Parliament for Asokwa Constituency and doubles as the Deputy Majority Leader in Parliament. Patricia Appiagyei is our guest today on the show. Honorable, you're welcome.
Right, thank you.
How has your stay in Parliament been so far?
I'm just thinking about the question. Whether stay in Parliament means 12 years in Parliament.
12 years.
Yes. Oh, just yes. I think it's been one of a checkered one. Initially, when I came to Parliament, it was a time where we were in opposition. And I must tell you, it wasn't an interesting experience at all. In the first place, you're not too happy that your party won, and that you become so disinterested in what happens in Parliament, you know. It doesn't give you the opportunity to do your best. And I, as a learner, which I must say the first timer, it was something that I feel I could have done things better than I did in Parliament. But I started having the feel of a good parliamentary period when we came back to power in 2016. 2016. Since that time, I have become very much engrossed with whatever is done in Parliament. I've always ensured that I attend my parliamentary duties, try to be present at all times, try to be present at my committee meetings. I've not actually taken my responsibility as a joke at all.
Okay.
Initially, I was from 2016 to 2020, I was the Deputy Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation Minister, Deputy Minister of State. If I find myself in the ministry, I make sure I do what it takes and ensure that my programs don't really clash with my parliamentary attendance. So I was performing both duties very well. I've actually enjoyed Parliament. My second term has been purely parliamentary activities. And I must say, that's also a totally different experience, because it puts you at the forefront of either chairing a committee or ensuring that you attend your committee responsibilities to pass what is right, especially when we want to promote private members' bill. It has also given me the opportunity of looking at some issues which have not been tackled by the various sectors. And one of it is the spousal law.
Okay.
The spousal bill has been in Parliament over a long period of time, but each time it's presented on the floor, there are always flaws to ensure that it's set aside for a period and it outlives its mandate or the term in which the parliamentary term ends. So, in general, I must say that Parliament has been very interesting. I was not surprised at all why, by dint of faith and dint of what I should say, favor, the favor of God, I've also been given the position of a deputy majority leader.
All right, so sorry for the technical glitch, but then the conversation continues. So, Honorable, tell us, what were some of the challenges you faced and what has been some of the achievements so far?
The challenges I faced?
Yes.
In my political life?
Yes, before you took over. What were some of the things they were facing?
I think initially, when I would say that my gender had always been brought to question by the men in politics. I quite remember somebody made an unsavory statement which attracted a number of women activists to condemn the statement that was made. You know, it used to be that women in politics were looked on like people who have a very bad lifestyle. And therefore, you find men making certain statements which were not acceptable. They feel by virtue of the fact that you are in politics or you are in a very favorable position, it means you have sold yourself sexually to a man to be in that position. And it's something that is so outrageous. Currently, I don't think that people place that much emphasis. They realize that they will be attacked. The men will be attacked if they make such statements or allude your position to be one of being given the opportunity because of a relationship you have with a man. And it's rather unfortunate that we should be thinking that way. And I think people are growing. And people are beginning to accept that what men can do, women can do, and can even do better. And therefore, there are certain statements that people cannot make on the women who put themselves out for political leadership. Yes.
Okay, so on the constituency level,
yes,
what has been some of the achievements too that you've chalked?
I think what I would say that is by the grace of God that I'm in that position, but His grace and mercies are so abundant. But one thing I've been endowed with is my relationship with people. And then secondly, I see myself as a servant more than a master. Okay. Yes, that's one of the things. But in my political life, especially in Asukwa, one of the things that I feel very proud about is the fact that I was one of the people who crafted the manifesto for Nanado's term in office, when he was bidding for the presidential position. And having been in Kumasi for 4 years, and having served as a chief executive of Kumasi, which is popularly called the mayor in some other jurisdiction, I realized that much as I wanted to do a lot for the people of Kumasi, I had limitations. My limitation was about finances. I had 10 constituencies under me. And it's a very broad area. I wish that I had the money to transform the city into what my dream was telling me. And I believe that Kumasi was so big that I achieved some level of it, because it was my idea that most of roundabouts, the garden city image returns to Kumasi. So I started putting plans in place to make sure that we rehabilitated very nice places. We have edifices that characterizes the city as Kumasi City. At a point where we had to host the 2008 soccer, I put Kumasi in a shape that everybody was, especially the visitors that came from various countries, could not believe that a city, an African city can be that clean. And things were orderly arranged. And having looked at that one, I realized that there's the need to make sure that some of the constituencies are turned into municipal assemblies. Okay. And rightly so, in the manifesto we proposed that Kumasi is too big, and because of that, we cannot achieve certain level of development if we don't divide it, especially on constituency basis, into a municipality. By doing so, the municipality will have their budget, they will have their identity, and they can solicit for anything for the development of that municipality. And that is the luck that I wouldn't say, the idea that resonated well with the president, and ensure that when we came to power, he put it into execution as quickly as possible. And therefore, we became independent. Asokwa municipality was birthed. Okay. And by doing so, we have our own budget. By my experience at KMA, I know what to do to support and ensure which areas that should be developed. And one of the challenges that we were having was our road network. It was so bad that everybody was on the lookout for the development of the road network. Unfortunately, after Nanado's first term, we had not been able to execute the plan to redevelop our road network, which cost me a lot in the 2020 election, to the extent that our own organizer of our party became an independent candidate trying to fight against what I was doing. But to my surprise, I didn't understand why he was behaving that way, because I had always put across to my executive the plans that we have to redevelop our road network. So I was rather surprised that he could just fight and say that I'm not doing much to make sure our road network were improved. But I knew where I was with our development. So I personally went round and explained myself and told them, gave them update of where we have worked into, and that they should give me another chance to make sure that we were able to fix especially our major roads. And currently, I think I can pride myself to say that that has been done. And our square is looking much neater than you can imagine. But the issue is not just the trunk roads, but you're also looking at the community roads. But I believe strongly that once we have a municipality, we'll be able to prosecute the agenda of fixing our community roads, especially when the government has even further had a dream to supply 7 different equipment for road construction within the various municipal, metropolitan and district assemblies. We are going to have ours, and we want to ensure that we will fix our road network to perfection. So that is my dream, to ensure that the next term in office, I improve the community roads.
Okay, so apart from the road network, what other developmental projects have you embarked on?
Yes, one is on health.
Okay.
We have a so-called hospital at, we call it Kumasi South Hospital. Okay. And, you know, it started as something like a chip compound. It was just, how do you call that? Some clinic. Okay. But it has a very vast land for development in the future. But unfortunately, it was encroached. So when it was turned into a hospital, we had very few facilities. Like I remember when I was at KMA, I had the opportunity to assess some facility from the World Bank, and we were able to construct the mother and baby unit at the hospital. And it is one of the reasons why that hospital, the Kumasi South Hospital, is overcrowded with a lot of pregnant women, even to the position that it gets so overcrowded that people sleep on the floor. So when I became the MP, it was something I could not bear. So I immediately put my common fund into use and ensure that each time I'm giving my portion, I made sure I could construct 2 consulting rooms, 1 pharmaceutical room, store room, and some other space for them to be. Because when I came, the doctors were sitting among the patients, attending to them. It was only when I provided that facility that we were able to go in. And we have also been able, through the municipal assembly, to develop the emergency unit. We didn't have it. We didn't have the emergency unit, and people came in being rushed through. And it's interesting that in this southern part of Kumasi, it was we were attending to people from Bosomtri, the neighboring constituencies. We're using that facility, even Oforikro, even though they had a tech hospital. Some of them were coming that way. So it's been very difficult because that particular hospital, as we speak, that doesn't even have a mortuary. Okay. We don't have it. Our theaters are very few. It's not too good. So I was very elated that we were mentioned as one of the beneficiaries of the Agenda 111. Okay. But unfortunately, I couldn't secure a land of that 25 with the radius, the kilometer radius. Between 5 to 25 kilometer radius, that was required to put up that day. So it was taken out of us, and all that we're trying to do is to enhance the hospital. I'm sure when you went around, you saw a story building that is being constructed. Yes, ongoing. Yes, it's a maternity block that I'm trying to put up, a 40-bed maternity block with 2 delivery rooms, some about 3 consulting rooms and all that, to bring it to speed. Unfortunately, it's been challenging because things have become very expensive and the project has stalled a bit. But we're still gradually positioning ourselves to look at that one. Through my intervention, the KMA also built, because of the waste treatment around Uti and Kuwait. I don't know, that's what we call it. Yes, there is a clinic, hospital that I'll call it chip compound status that has been built for them because we didn't want them to move when at night when they are, and the road was so bad that even to travel on that road to even Kumasi South was a betting. But currently, because the road is fixed, they come in there. But we have that clinic for them, and it's been very useful. I bought them some, how do they call them? The lab equipment to ensure that when they come, they will be able to give them some test to identify exactly what is wrong with it. It was through that we observed that because of their water table, the sipping through of the waste, the people within that enclave develop a particular sickness called H. pylori or something.
And is it H. pylori?
H, rather.
Yes,
yes.
H. pylori.
Yes. They were having that kind of disease, and it's a very dangerous one. Yes, because the water table is not right. So, as we speak now, we have fought for them to be, it's a new settlement, even though it's been there for a while. But we call it is a developing settlement. We've now been able to get the water and sewage company to connect the actual main pipe into that community. As we speak now, they are trying so hard to pay and be connected on that line. And it is all through my initiative that they've been able to do that. And then with regards to school infrastructure, we have also done well on it. Through my intervention, we have in Chapatre, Dompasi, we built school at Atonsu, which was also from GMPC and Ghana Gas and the GET Fund. I mean, I had to solicit for all the support from them because at Atonsu in particular, that is the only public school available. It's a very big compound, but have different phases of schools.
So like a cluster of schools?
Yes, that's what they call it. It's a cluster of schools. And it is also over there and about 7 other communities that I have managed to also set up computer labs for those basic schools. Okay. Yes, well finished, and I don't know whether you went to any of them.
Yes.
Did you go to Good Shepherd? Yes.
No, we went to, is it Dompase MA?
Yeah, Dompase.
Went to that Honsu school.
Yes.
Went to one Anglican school.
Yes.
What's the exact location?
Yeah, well,
we went to Sherpa.
Yes, we have about 7 or 8 of such communities. And it's through my own intervention that we were able to put up these things. Because it is a subject now which members must pass. And I needed to make sure that my schools are well equipped with those, because I don't want anybody to come with a stone to showcase, what do you call it, a mouse. So they need to have a real feel of what the computer is and what it can do for them. Okay. So these are also one. And then with water too, I have also been able to get almost every community some mechanized boreholes to make sure that in times when supply of water is short, they will have an alternative to deal with. We've also come up with some public toilets, both for schools and also for the communities.
Agogo North, and then they were appealing that they needed toilet facilities.
Yes,
there. So
the market.
Yes.
It's just the market.
Okay, yeah.
But they have always appealed, but it is availability of land. I have actually mentioned that if they can convince their chiefs to make a land available, because I don't know where I'm going to construct that toilet or bath or urinary, if I have to do it. Because it's all development has been very difficult because of land issues.
Honorable, We went to Dompoase
Yes.
bus terminal.
Yes.
And they were complaining that, yes, you built a very nice space for them. However, there's another bus terminal on the other side, and all the passengers tend to go to that side to board the vehicles, and they are rendered, for lack of better word, inactive. So they were also appealing to you that if you can ensure that these people also come and board their vehicles so that business will be brisk for them.
I really don't understand what their thoughts are. I really don't agree with them. Because, you see, the people that will board from there, I think they are only looking at one side of the story. That is people who hail from Bosomtwe area and Bekwai area that will have to board from there. Because this one is very close to the market. So now we are even forced to build shops around that area to make sure that but we were approached by a group from Roman Hill that they could easily come and occupy that space and bring. But I don't know why that proposal was never accepted. If you don't start anything small, you can't get it going. How do you expect people? I don't know whether you took notice of where that market is and where this particular
terminal is.
Yes. You want everything to be moved to that terminal, and you expect people to walk to that terminal.
Yeah, it's quite a distance.
Yes, and that was the reason why I didn't allow that.
Other issue that sprang up was job creation.
Yeah.
So what are your plans towards?
I cannot create a job. You know that we are all creating jobs out of the good government policies and programs. When we talk about Agenda 111, we are talking about 111 hospitals. Will that not create jobs?
Yeah, it will.
When we talk about 1D, 1F, if we are able to continue and then progress this agenda, would that not create jobs? Would that not stabilize our currency? These are some of the things that people should know. As we speak now, somebody will tell you now, I need my job now. But the government has a number of interventions. The government obviously cannot give jobs to everybody who comes out of school. And it is the major reason why the government is coming up with a program where you will be apprised, you will be availed with an initiative to do something for yourself. And it falls within the industrial sector, small and medium scale industry. It also falls within the agricultural sector and all other sectors where the private initiatives are. And it is even one of the more reasons why we are promoting, what do you call it? The TVET, to make sure that people can do what they want to do for themselves. And all these initiatives are there. They are not looking at how they can assess, but they want ready jobs because they find it very difficult to start their own businesses. Which brings our mind to the fact that our educational system must be looked into again, because there should be an educational curricula that will ensure that when people come out of school, they can develop their own businesses and then prosecute it and earn something for a living.
Okay.
So these are some of the things. So I have been exposing them to the fact that if you want something, you have to make a move. Find out where you can get it, and we can assist. The government jobs are not available because, as we speak now, we are under the IMF program.
So why should the people of Asokwa vote for you again ahead of the December election polls?
I think it isn't even the issue of why they should. They know they have to. I think I've gained their confidence, and they believe that whatever, through my transparent dealing with them and my honesty with them, they believe that whatever I have informed them that I would do, I've been doing it. I've been honest enough for them to know exactly what we are prosecuting. So the people believe that I'm one person who can continue and develop the constituency for them.
Your final words to them?
My final words to them is that I always say that it is by the grace of God that I have been able to serve them for the 12 years. And God, at a point in time when everybody thought that there are some people crying that I should be changed, I've been too long on the seat, and that is where God proved to them that I have more job for my lady. So you should be given a second chance. I've been given another chance to contribute towards the development of Asokwa. And I believe by the grace of God, I'm going to perform much better.
We are very thankful for having you on this show. So this has been Campaign Trail on GhanaWeb TV with me, Ernestina Sewa Asante, and our guest was the Member of Parliament for Asokwa Constituency, Patricia Appiagyei.
Kwalebu was, I think, 380.
380 Ghana cedis.
Yes. But private, some are 500, 450, some are 800, 860.
Per session,
yes.
You have to do 2 every
week.
Yeah.
Even if someone earns 5,000 Ghana cedis every month, that person cannot keep paying 380 cedis 3 times a week for dialysis.
Majority of the people who need dialysis to survive in Ghana don't even earn half of the amount mentioned.
Some people battling organ diseases end up losing their jobs because their companies cannot keep paying them for always being absent.
How are these people expected to afford the monies needed for dialysis as well as other expenses, talk less of the huge amounts they have to come up with for transplantation surgeries outside Ghana when they get donors?
It is because of these people that GhanaWeb in August 2023 launched the organ donation legislation campaign to push for the country to pass a law that will guide organ harvesting and
Opoku Eric, Opoku Isaac Yao, Opon Kroma Kojo, Osai John Frimpong, Osai Kennedy Nyako, Osai Asari Abna, Osai Wusu Joseph, Oti John Kwabna Bless, Otute Christian Quality, Owusu Bio Benito, Owusu Ekoful Esla, Kosia. Prempe Matthew Opoku. Kwate Henry. Kwesi James Jechi. Ramadan Muhammad Adamu. Rickes Hagan George Kweku. Safo Sarah Ajua. Sandari Sabashen Meneso. Sanid Suleiman Adamu. Sani John Kobna Abam Abwa. Soya Queen Samami Pokwa. Sefe Richard Kwame. Setre Benjamin Yabwa. Sosu Francis Xavier Kojo. Sowa Dela Ajua. Sowa Rita Nao Dole. Suparu Adams Mohammed. Suleimana Adama. Suleiman Al Hassan Tampli. Suleimana Yusuf. Suma Anthony Kikara. Tahidu Abdul Razak. Teria Augustine. Tela Abi Ebenezer Oklite. Tete Joycelyn. Tete Sylvester. Tete Agbotui Gisela. Tete Joseph Akwete. Tofi Dokas. Tobu Peter Lanshini. Tuferi Mohammed Hadi. Chum Ampofu Gifty. Chum Berima Paul Apreku. Yusuf Mustafa. Vandapoy Alfred Oko. Vandapoy Edwin Ilante. Vondi David. Wakpal Daniel Insala. Reku Brobe Bright. Woyome Kobna Mensa. Zidin Bid and Watazumo.
Honorable members, National Pledge. I promise on my honor so help me God. Honorable members, I have a number of messages from His Excellency the President. The first one is dated 20th September 2024, and it reads, Mr. Speaker, absence from Ghana. In accordance with Article 59 of the Constitution, I write to inform you that I will be traveling outside the country on Saturday, 21st September 2024 to New York, United States of America, to lead Ghana's delegation to the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly from 21st to 27th September 2024. I'll return to Ghana on Saturday, 28th September 2024. During my absence, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, shall, in accordance with Article 68 of the Constitution, act in my stead. Yours sincerely, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The second is dated 10th The second is dated 3rd October 2024. It reads, Mr. Speaker, absence from Ghana. In accordance with Article 59 of the Constitution, I write to inform you that I will be traveling outside the country on Tuesday, 3rd October 2024, to Paris, France, at the invitation of the President of France, His Excellency Emmanuel Macron, to lead Ghana's delegation to the 19th Summit of l'Organisation Internationale de Francophonie, scheduled to be held from 4th to 5th October 2024. It is expected that Ghana, currently an associate member, will be admitted to full membership of the organization at the summit. Thereafter, I will depart Paris on Sunday, 6th October 2024, to Hamburg, Germany, at the invitation of the German Chancellor, His Excellency Olaf Scholz, to attend the Hamburg Sustainable Conference, scheduled to take place from 7th to 8th October 2024. I will return to Ghana on Wednesday, 8th October 2024. During my absence, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, shall, in accordance with Article 68 of the Constitution, act in my stead. Yours sincerely, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The third is dated 10th October 2024, and it reads, Mr. Speaker, absence from Ghana. In accordance with Article 59 of the Constitution, I write to inform you that I'll be traveling outside the country on Thursday, 10th October 2024, to Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, at the invitation of the President of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, President Alassane Ouattara, to co-chair the first Strategic Partnership Agreement Summit between Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, which will focus on key areas of collaboration between the two countries. The summit is scheduled to be held from 11th to 12th October 2024. I will return to Ghana on Saturday, 12th October 2024. During my absence, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, shall, in accordance with Article 68 of the Constitution, act in my stead. Yours sincerely, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Honorable members, we now move to item 5 on the order paper. Item 5. Honorable members, I don't have a formal statement, but definitely I need to welcome you from the recess. And it is with a deep sense of duty and gratitude that I welcome you all back to the plenary session of Parliament this afternoon. This meeting is the last but one meeting for the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic. Honorable members, let it not be lost on any of us that we stand at a critical juncture in our nation's parliamentary history. The decisions and deliberations we will engage in over the coming weeks will be some of the last in this parliamentary term, and they carry profound implications for the future of our country. This meeting marks a culmination of the efforts and contributions each one of you has made over the course of this Parliament. And I take this opportunity to acknowledge the commitment, resilience, and dedication that you, honorable members, have demonstrated throughout the term. Together, we have navigated through unprecedented challenges, ranging from global pandemics, conflicts, wars, uncertainty, and the economic challenges of our country, to pivotal legislative reforms aimed at reversing the democratic decline and to rather strengthen our governance and democratic institutions. As we prepare to embark on this penultimate stretch, I urge all of you to remain steadfast in our resolve to serve the people of Ghana with all our strength and with all our hearts. The legislative agenda ahead is weighty, and we must approach it with the seriousness it demands. Honorable members, let me remind you of the substantial and urgent workload that lies ahead. The business of the House is far from complete, and the legislative priorities before us demand nothing short of our utmost dedication, focus, and swift action. At this juncture, several crucial bills are at various stages of consideration, each carrying profound implications for the governance, stability, and economic growth of our nation. These include, as you all know, the Constitution Amendment Bill, the Environmental Protection Bill, Parliamentary Service Bill, and the Parliamentary Transition Bill. The Parliamentary Transition Bill is essential in refining the processes involved in the peaceful transfer of administration in the Parliament, the cornerstone of our democracy. This bill addresses gaps in the current framework to guarantee smoother transitions between administrations, ensuring stability and continuity in Parliament. Additionally, the International Business and Economic Transaction Bill is pivotal in positioning Ghana as a key player in the global economic arena. This bill will lay the groundwork for more robust, clear, and transparent international economic engagement, enhancing investor confidence while safeguarding our national interests. Notably also is the budget bill. This bill is currently at the second reading stage and must be processed with great urgency. The budget is the backbone of our economic management and planning, and any delays in the passage of the budget bill could have ripple effects across the public and private sectors, ultimately affecting the livelihoods of Ghanaians. Moreover, it is not just the bills that need our attention. There are several papers yet to be laid before the House, motions for debate that remain pending, petitions awaiting actions, and critical committee referrals that require our urgent review. We are also expecting the laying of several constitutional instruments which need to come into force before the elections. I urge all relevant stakeholders to work with dispatch so that the instruments are laid and come into force before the House adjourns sine die. To ensure that the legislative process moves smoothly and efficiently, I also call upon all committees with pending referrals to immediately take the necessary steps to complete their reviews and present their reports. The work of these committees, as you all know, form the backbone of our legislative process, and any delays in their activities could stall key legislative items that are vital to national development. I will also take this opportunity to urge the leadership of the House to prioritize the programming of these essential legislative items. We must ensure that bills of time-sensitive nature are scheduled for debate and decisions as soon as possible. The proper functioning of government and the progress of our legislative agenda depend on the timely and deliberate actions of this House. Beyond the technical aspects of legislative work, let us also not lose sight of our broader responsibility as members of Parliament. We must approach our duties with a deep sense of sacred obligation. Our presence in this chamber is not just about fulfilling a constitutional mandate, but also about embodying the hopes and aspirations of millions of Ghanaians. It is incumbent upon us to demonstrate through our actions that we are worthy of the trust that has been placed in us. Honorable members, The time for action is now. We cannot afford complacency, nor can we allow bureaucratic delays to hinder the progress of vital legislation. Let us work together across party lines to ensure that the people of Ghana see a parliament that is responsive, efficient, and committed to the national interest. Honorable members, let me acknowledge that we are now in a season of elections. Many of our colleagues here are actively engaged in their respective campaigns, seeking to renew the mandate given to them by the people. Indeed, elections are an essential pillar of our democracy, providing citizens with the opportunity to evaluate the work of their representatives and make their voices heard. I must remind us all, however, that while the electoral season is upon us, our mandate as members of Parliament has not yet expired. The duties and responsibilities we owe to this House and to the people of Ghana continue until the very last day of this parliamentary session. The legislation and business before us remain of paramount importance, and we must make the necessary time to ensure that we do not neglect our parliamentary duties. It is understandable that the demands of campaigning will pull at your time and energy. However, it is critical that we balance these demands with our legislative responsibilities, ensuring that we give full attention to the crucial bills, debates, and decisions that lie before the House. The people expect us to complete the work for which they elected us, and we cannot afford to let the momentum of governance be stalled by our electoral ambitions. In this light, I urge each and every one of you to be actors for good, both within this chamber, and on the campaign trail. The tone we set as members of Parliament during this period has far-reaching consequences. Our actions, our words, and our conduct will be seen and heard by our constituents, and they will shape the public perception of our democratic processes. We must therefore be mindful of the language we use and the behavior we display, whether in Parliament or media interviews or public fora. It is essential, therefore, as leaders, we act to preserve the gains of our democracy. This means conducting ourselves with decorum, promoting peaceful discourse, and ensuring that our campaigns and public statements reflect the high standards expected of us as representatives of the people. Our democracy has been built over decades of hard work and sacrifice. We must guard it jealously against any actions or rhetoric that could undermine it. Let us remember that the stability of our democratic system is a collective responsibility. We have a duty to demonstrate that even in the midst of fierce political competition, we can uphold the values of respect, integrity, and unity. Our role as parliamentarians goes beyond seeking re-election. We are custodians of the democratic principles that form the foundation of this nation. Honorable members, as you campaign, I urge you to carry the pride and dignity of the House with you. Speak to the issues that matter to the people. Engage in constructive debate. And most importantly, be an example of the kind of leadership that strengthens rather than weakens. Leadership that unites rather than divides, particularly our people and our communities. Let us show that we are capable of respectful political engagement, even in times of intense competition, and that we place the good of our country above our personal ambitions. In closing, let me emphasize to all of you that our sacred mandate to serve the people of Ghana remains active until the end of this parliamentary term. Let us continue to fulfill our duties in the chamber with the same commitment and seriousness that we bring to the campaign trail. Our constituents are watching, and they expect nothing less than the best from those they have entrusted with the mandate to represent their trusts, interests, and aspirations. Once again, you are all welcome to this meeting, and I thank you all for your attention. I will grant the opportunity for your leaders to say one or two words in welcoming you back from recess. Please, we start with the minority leader.
Right Honorable Speaker, as always, I'm exceedingly grateful for the opportunity to welcome members and your good self to the commencement of the 5th meeting of the 4th session of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic. Mr. Speaker, it is equally proper that I acknowledge you, Right Honorable Speaker, for your guidance and how you continue to steer the affairs of this House. Right Honorable Speaker, having discharged these courtesies, let me be quick to state that all is not well with our country. Mr. Speaker, our country is under attack. Ghana is under a plague of unprecedented spate of illegal, illicit, uncontrolled, and unregulated mining activities. Mr. Speaker, I say this because Ghana is under the precipice of a self-inflicted environmental genocide and destruction. Our beautiful country, once called the Gold Coast, to underscore the rich mineral deposit God has bestowed on us, is fast becoming a pale shadow of itself. Mr. Speaker, our lands, with all its rich flora and fauna, are being destroyed by the day. Our once pristine rivers and water bodies are now looking as brown as coffee, having been poisoned to satisfy the insatiable greed of unscrupulous few of our citizens. Mr. Speaker, many farmlands, including cocoa farms, have been completely destroyed, and in their place are unattended pits and gullies from these uncontrolled mining activities. Mr. Speaker, according to the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, the CSIR, it may take up to 300 years to restore the quality of soil damaged by these illegal mining activities. Right Honorable Speaker, it appears that Ghana is at war against itself, and the destructive effect of this frightening and far-reaching mining, Mr. Speaker, will go a long way to affect the lives of the people of Ghana. This reckless and criminal discharge of heavy metals such as mercury, lead, and cyanide into our water bodies and land have already begun to have dire consequences on the health of our people. Mr. Speaker, medical experts have delivered a scary verdict on the babies being born with various deformities, such as the absence of limbs, eyes, and other vital body parts. Mr. Speaker, we are at crisis point. At the heart of this crisis is leadership failure, official complicit, and lack of political will by the Akufo-Addo government and the MPP. Right Honorable Speaker, to do nothing is no longer an option. Right Honorable Speaker, I repeat, to do nothing is no longer an option. This House must rise to the occasion and bring the necessary action to bear on the President, the Vice President, and the government to act. Right Honorable Speaker, as we go into another elections, Mr. Speaker, government must guard against the temptation of spending, and it does not have to be only this election. Right Honorable Speaker, such reckless fiscal indiscipline is what has landed our dear country into debt hole and brought untold hardships to the people of Ghana. I am reliably informed, Mr. Speaker, that this President Akufo-Addo and the MPP government intends to dole out 3,000 Ghana cedis per person and other assorted election-driven handouts to about 800,000 so-called farmers in the name of drought reliefs. Mr. Speaker, it is obvious that this government has not learned any useful lessons from the misuse of the COVID-19 funds and the borrowed funds on reckless consumption-driven expenditure. This NPP government must be reminded that Ghana's economy, which they have badly mismanaged, is still not out of the woods yet. Mr. Speaker, hence, strict fiscal discipline, fiscal responsibility rules must be upheld, even during an election year. Right Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to be given this opportunity to welcome my colleagues from the recess. Mr. Speaker, I equally welcome you for being here hearty and healthy to preside over the assembly of this Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I am aware that during the period of recess, a number of committees worked assiduously on referrals, and I commend honorable members for taking time off their tight schedules to attend to committee work. The Public Account Committee, led by its able and industrious chair, Honorable James Kluje Appiagyei, has been relentless in fulfilling its mandate in perusing public accounts of state agencies. The Appointment Committee also met to vet the President's nominees to the Supreme Court during the recess period. I know other committees also met to consider referrals that were made to them by Mr. Speaker, and I therefore take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to thank all members for their selfless service to the nation. Mr. Speaker, the country is gearing up for another general elections come December 7, 2024. And I'm not oblivious of the huge responsibilities that this has placed on us as we seek another mandate from our people. The enormous strain on our resources, time, and the sacrifices some of us have to make during this period are not for faint-hearted. This penultimate meeting of the House has seen most of us having to suspend most of our planned programs and activities in our various constituencies in the heat of the campaign to be here to conduct important national business. I therefore take this opportunity to extend my sincere appreciation to colleagues for showing up at this critical moment. Mr. Speaker, although the number of sittings scheduled for this meeting may be limited, there are also equally important government business that need attention. Permit me to mention the following: the Environmental Protection Agency Bill, the Social Protection Bill, the Customs Amendment Bill, the Budget Bill, the Ghana Boundary Commission Bill, the Interstate Succession Bill, and the all-important Free SHS Bill. Mr. Speaker, these and other similar important bills before the House need to be considered before the House proceeds on recess. Again, government flagship policy 1D1F. I'm aware that the Committee on Finance is done with its work, and they have done extensive work, and soon this will be tabled before us to consider. I urge members to have a critical look at it for us to approve them. There are a number of questions that are before the House, and I therefore call on sector ministers to avail themselves to respond to these questions. Due to the limited time within which this business may be conducted, I would humbly urge all sector ministers again to kindly schedule their programs effectively so that they can make time to appear before this House to respond to questions filed by honorable members. Mr. Speaker, as we approach the general elections on December 7th, I would like to appeal to my colleagues to be circumspect and measured in their public utterances in the heat of the campaign, the name-calling, the mudslinging, to our body politics, which I suggest strongly that we should not allow it to permeate through this period. As we celebrating 30 years of uninterrupted parliamentary democracy, it is high time we eschewed these unhealthy political habits and make issue and fact-based messages the focal point of our political campaigns. In view of this, I beseech all political actors and players in the country, both within and outside this House, to be guided in the statement they put out in the country. This is the only country we have, and it is imperative that we protect the democracy that we are currently enjoying for present generation and posterity. Mr. Speaker, we must learn to have faith and repose trust in state agencies and entities, especially so when their functions are critical to the peace and stability of the country. It is important that during this period, we trust these institutions to carry out their constitutional mandate. Mr. Speaker, through your enviable leadership, we, the members of this august House, have had the opportunity to engage the Electoral Commission on numerous occasions. It is my expectation that we will continue to use this opportunity granted us through your leadership to judge with the EC on salient issues bordering on the conduct of the forthcoming general elections. Mr. Speaker, one issue that caught the attention of the nation during the recess was the issue of illegal artisanal mining, popularly known as galamsey, in our local parlance. Mr. Speaker, although artisanal mining has been part of our local economy for decades, the devastation to our water bodies, forests, and ecological reserves calls for the need to revisit the issue of artisanal mining in recent times. Mr. Speaker, as recent as 2015, Honorable Seth Tekpe, the then Finance Minister, appeared before the Finance Committee of Parliament during President John Dramani Mahamad's administration and cautioned the nation that galamsey was destroying our cocoa economy. In fact, he put out how galamsey was destroying all our cocoa farms and farmers were cutting down cocoa trees because of galamsey activities. Mr. Speaker, we cannot, as a political class, blame game on galamsey and say that a particular political party, in this case, the Akufo-Addo administration, has failed in its fight against galamsey. and leave out what happened preceding the administration of Akufo-Addo administration. Indeed, it's a known fact that Akufo-Addo administration took a decision to deploy the Ghana Armed Forces through what is known as Operation Halt in the early years of his presidency, and the aim was to combat the threat of illegal mining, which was wreaking deliberate havoc on the nation's water bodies and forest reserves. And Mr. Speaker, it was because at the time he took office, the Galamsey activity had gotten out of hand, and the then administration had no immediate answer to it. While the operation achieved some successes, various challenges arose that undermined the effort to fully eradicate the menace. Mr. Speaker, as a parliament, it is important for us to acknowledge the President for taking a bold decision to fight the menace of Galamsey. Mr. Speaker, the President, in a statement released, has reinforced the operational and tactical capacity of the Operation Halt by directing the Minister of Defense to deploy additional military personnel to intensify the ongoing Operation Halt across the country. For the first time in this fight, logistics such as naval boats are to be deployed on water bodies to stop all legal and illegal mining activities on water bodies across the country. Furthermore, the President has directed for the suspension of the Environmental Protection Regulation 2023, LI 2462, by the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, alongside the Environmental Protection Agency. This is a very bold decision by the President. Mr. Speaker, the fight against Galamsey is a collective fight for the survival and sustainability of our livelihood as a nation. This is because water is essential in our daily survival, and we must take measures to protect all the water bodies in the country from any form of pollution. We as political leaders and actors must commit to this fight in all sincerity and not to play lip service to it. Mr. Speaker, we must be committed and we should be united in this fight. Mr. Speaker, permit me to also point out the commendable steps taken by the government in addressing the drought situation in the north. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Agric, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Agric, together with the Finance Minister, presented a paper to the Finance Committee. Mr. Speaker, in the briefing, they made known to us the measures they intend to take to support our farmers in the north. Mr. Speaker, members who are in the south may not know the situation of farmers in the northern part of the country. Many farmers have lost Mr. Speaker, many farmers in the north have lost their farm produce, they have lost their farmlands as a result of the situation they found themselves. Government intends to support them, and government is going to support these farmers to sustain their livelihood. Government intends to support the women in the north who suffered as a result of the challenges they faced, and this support will be given to these farmers who are Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, I would call on colleague members to engage government as these disbursements are being made, so that the people would benefit from it, so that our people will not continue to suffer and die. Mr. Speaker, as I've already mentioned, this is a short meeting with a tall agenda, And with elections around the corner, I would admonish honorable colleagues to take attendance seriously to ensure effectiveness on the House floor. I urge all chairpersons of committees to liaise with their ranking members to ensure referrals are attended to within stipulated time. Mr. Speaker, I shall conclude by commending the parliamentary service staff, especially those our clerks at table, for all the support they've been giving to us to enable us function effectively. Not the least is the parliamentary press corps. They are always ready to disseminate information that originates from this House floor. Mr. Speaker, without more, I shall thank you for indulging me.
Honorable members, before we proceed, let me acknowledge the presence of some visitors, particularly students. Even though today is the first day of our meeting, we have visitors at our public gallery. The first group is made up of 30 students from the Church of Pentecost Men's Ministry. They are being led by Elder Eric Ochre Donko. And as you all know, this ministry is located in the constituency known as Krowo municipality. That is where they come from. And so, with your kind permission, I acknowledge and warmly welcome them to the business of the day. We also have 56 students coming from the Nuvasta Academy, being led by the head teacher of the academy in the person of Mr. Asedu Daniel Gad. They are located in the Gomwa East constituency. I humbly, warmly welcome you all. 56 is quite a large number, and I want to congratulate the head teacher for leading this huge number of students to witness firsthand the proceedings of Parliament. You are most welcome. Honorable members, we now move to correction of votes and proceedings and the official report. We'll start with the correction of votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 4th September 2024. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Sorry, page 7.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Respectfully, I was marked absent. But Right Honorable Speaker, on that very day, I was visibly present in the House. So if the table office can duly correct that for me.
Could we get your number and name?
Item number 9, Asifua Vincent Eko, Old Tafo.
That is item 3, number 9 at page 7 of the order paper. Votes and proceedings, sorry.
Respectfully so.
Yes. The honorable member for Old Tafo, please, table of his candidate, take note. Page 8. Honorable members, with a number of you on your feet, it's very difficult for me to locate whether you are standing to be recognized or you are just having a chat. Please resume your seats. Page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, sorry, page 12. Yes, Honorable Dafiamapo.
Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I recall that the resolution taken by the House after the debates arose and a question was put in respect of the Songo Lagoon matter, the item number 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I must say, you directed the Committee on Lands and Natural Resources to continue to engage the parties in mediation and reports. The report, as well, Mr. Speaker, is missing, because it was clear that we were to engage in mediation and get back to the House regarding the status and the outcome of those mediating meetings that would have held with the people. I think that it's important that it reflects in the resolution. Thank you very much.
Yes, table of his candidate, take note of that. All the committees I mentioned are to continue to engage and to keep on reporting to the House so that we know the progress of the mediation. Yes, Honorable Ablakwa.
I'm grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, page 13, the first paragraph at page 13, the rendition here does not fully capture what transpired that day. What we have here is that the Committee on Chieftaincy, Culture and Religious Affairs and the Committee on Defense and Interior should continue to engage the parties in order to preserve and maintain places of cultural and religious significance and conservation sites. But, Mr. Speaker, that day, honorable members spoke to a number of human rights violations, people who had been attacked, journalists and all of that, media houses that had come under attack. And so the work of the Committee on Defense and Interior was to look at that aspect as well and report to the House. But this rendition is only concerned with the cultural and religious sites in terms of preserving their significance. But it leaves out the grave human rights concerns, the attacks on the people of Adan as came up during the proceedings. And that is why you asked the Defense and Interior Committee to also play a role in terms of the list of committees that you gave responsibilities to. So, Mr. Speaker, this rendition will have to be re-looked at so that it can capture the full essence of what transpired that day. I'm grateful.
Honourable Member, I think you are right. We need to capture that table office and also focus on the maintenance of peace and security in the area. It's very, very paramount. Page, yes, Honourable Member.
Right Honourable Speaker, page 13.
Yes.
Item number 12. the last paragraph. The Honorable Second Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the Right Honorable Speaker, thanked honorable members for the positive response. Response RES. S. Messen. RES. Messen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Table office, kindly take note. Honorable members, with this, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the second extraordinary sitting dated Wednesday, 4th September 2024 are adopted as a true record of proceedings. Honorable members, official report. I have two official reports. The first one dated 28th June 2024. Please. Yes, please.
I'm going to Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, column 118, the second paragraph at column 118. This is on the tribute that was very well delivered by the respected Honorable Benson Togo Baba in memory of the Honorable John Akogo Tia. The paragraph says that, Mr. Speaker, in 2009, the late President, Professor John Evans Atta Mills, appointed him as Minister for Information. In 2012, he contested again to represent his constituents, but unfortunately, he lost in that election to the paramount chief of Talensi traditional area, Tongo Ran Mosori Kobila Song. Right Honourable Speaker, at the time of the contest, he was not the paramount chief. Since our constitution does not allow chiefs to engage in active politics and to contest in elections, we cannot allow this rendition to stand in our records. So we can amend this to say that he lost to the Honorable Robert Nachinam Doamang Mosori, who later became the paramount chief of the Talensi traditional area. That will be a more accurate and constitutionally acceptable rendition, as Dr. Ayeni would say. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, table office, take note of that. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the official report of
I didn't.
The official report of Friday, 28th June 2024 is adopted as a true record of proceedings of that day. The second official report is dated 2nd July 2024, that is on a Tuesday. Honorable members, any corrections? Yes, Ablakwa.
I'm grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, column 56, the instrument, it should be Ghana Standards Authority, Pricing of Cement Regulation 2024. Ghana Standards Authority, plural, Standards Authority.
Table office, take note of that. Standard is with an S, standards. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the official report of Tuesday, 2nd July 2024 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Honorable members, we now move on to a business statement for the first week, and this will be presented to the House by the chairman of the Business Committee, in the person of the Majority Leader. Please, Majority Leader, you may do so now.
Mr. Speaker, this is the 5th meeting of the 4th session of the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. And Mr. Speaker, we have before you the explanatory memorandum on the business statement for the first week ending Friday, the 18th of October, 2024. Mr. Speaker, it's a 4-page report. Same has been printed and circulated to all members. I shall rely on same and move that the House adopts this report to enable us rely on same as a guide for our week's deliberation. Thank you so much, sir.
Honorable members, the report has been presented. Yes, any comments? Honorable Haruna Idrisu.
Hello. All right, thank you. Mr. Speaker, let me thank you very much for the opportunity. The business statements have been presented. But Mr. Speaker, in respect of illegal mining called Galamsey and the harm it has done to our natural environment, our water bodies and livelihoods, it is not about who is successful or who is not successful. Every Ghanaian knows that we are failing. Mr. Speaker, it will be my request that you take up this matter much more seriously and invite the 3 ministers of state, the Minister for Lands, Natural Resources, the Minister for National Security, the Minister for Interior, and all other institutions involved to come, and the Minister for Environment, Mr. Speaker, to publicly account to Ghanaians through you how much have so far been spent in the name of fighting illegal mining and Galamsey, and how much destruction in terms of official report to our water bodies. And Mr. Speaker, you can give consequential direction. The people of Ghana expect that of us as Parliament, that we hold persons in whom we have entrusted the supervision of our natural resources accountable. And Mr. Speaker, the Constitution vests our natural resources in the hands of the President. So, Mr. Speaker, that will be my first take. My second, Mr. Speaker, is taking it from your own words. The conduct of free, fair, credible election, we should all be mindful of what we do and what we say. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Special Budget will have to, as a matter of urgency, engage with the Electoral Commission of Ghana and probably invite the chairperson and other officials of the Electoral Commission, including the Minister for Interior and the Inspector General of Police, to share with us their roadmap to the conduct of free, fair, credible elections. Mr. Speaker, in respect of the Electoral Commission, I have some information. As I raised the last time, 75,000 devices. You are buying batteries only 3,500. 75,000 devices. The Electoral Commission, even after expanding electoral polling stations, is only procuring an additional 8 to 10,000 BVDs. And then, Mr. Speaker, backup. What is here? Give me what you have, that white thing there. The Electoral Commission is also to increase the number of power banks. How many have they acquired? How functional will the biometric devices be on 7th December so that we don't have to rely on manual voting? Because, Mr. Speaker, that will engender fraud and may occasion electoral fraud if persons are asked to use a manual system instead of the electronic devices. Finally, Mr. Speaker, taking it from the minority leader and majority leader, we are hearing that some 3,000 Ghana cities or a number of farmers, 800,000 farmers, are rising out of a drought situation in the north. Mr. Speaker, my question to the leaders and to your good self is that how many members of parliament from the north in the affected areas have been so engaged in the determination of who benefit what? And we demand that no such decision or approval should be taken without the involvement of the members of parliament from the north, from the affected communities, making input into determining who gets what from the Ministry of Agric and Ministry of Agriculture, including the regional and district agric offices and members of parliament. Other than that, Mr. Speaker, it may as well be somebody wanting 800,000 votes through the back door and giving monies to farmers in the name of farming in order to lure and endure those people. So, Mr. Speaker, may I request through you that the Honorable Minister for Agriculture and Finance work through members of parliament. Then we know they mean well for farmers in the north, because to every constituency there is a farmer who determines who benefits from this government package. But when they finally come to parliament, Mr. Speaker, we'll make a determination. So, Mr. Speaker, may I request that the Electoral Commission be invited to your Committee on Special Budget to tell us their preparations for the election, the state of the register. We are aware that in the past, ballot papers were printed on the basis of final voter register, not provisional voter register. But they must respond to the issue of biometric devices, acquisition of batteries, power banks, and related issues. And then they must also justify to us what are the financial inadequacies so far that the Ministry of Finance have not met their request or requirement. Then we can make a case for them strongly. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, before we proceed, I want to know what is happening to the right side of the House. I see a large number of members of parliament at the back having a conversation. Please, honorable members, may we have your attention? You are allowed to move out of the presence and have your discussion, but not standing on the floor in that large number as if nothing is happening. Please, comments. Yes, Honorable Muntaka Mubarak.
Come here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, going through the business statement, item 5 is indicative as decision day. And Mr. Speaker, I wanted to take this opportunity to plead with the leadership to consider the days of sitting, having in mind the exigencies of the time. If it was for me to suggest, is to suggest that we sit Tuesday and end on Thursdays. So at least Fridays and Mondays can be out because of travel time, Mr. Speaker. So Speaker, the flag bearers are crisscrossing the country, and many MPs are expected to be in their constituencies to welcome them. And for practical reasons, you can see today, even the first day, how empty the chamber is. If we can all agree to concentrate on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then we know that we have all the businesses. Then Friday we start traveling back, and you know that you can start traveling back to Accra on Monday. Mr. Speaker, that way, I'm suggesting that may be a very practical way of dealing with the challenges that we have. And if that is considered by the leadership, I want to suggest that the decision day should be Thursday instead of Wednesday. Because, Mr. Speaker, as you may know, Wednesdays are the starting days, and usually you wouldn't have had enough to take a decision on Wednesday. But if you push the decision day to Thursday, you will have worked for Tuesday and Wednesday, and there may be enough for decision to be taken. I thought that I needed to make this suggestion known and see if leadership may consider that, so that to make the workings around this time much easier and more practical for all of us. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable, who is the senior now? Then you are the senior. Age matters. Honorable member, you seem to be senior. Yes, please. Not one of age from birth, but in the house.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the submission of the leader of the House about the fertilizer is the issue that we need to probe. Because if you go to various constituencies, the affected constituencies, Mr. Speaker, they've given the fertilizers to their pieces that they are sharing. The MPP are sharing, and they want to trap we the MPs that they've given us fertilizers. Mr. Speaker, they went to radio and everywhere that they've given MPs fertilizers to share. And Mr. Speaker, I went to the radio and told them I'm not a great director to share fertilizer, because MPs don't share fertilizers. We have the great directors who are in charge of the fertilizers. So, Mr. Speaker, this fertilizer issue needs to be investigated, needs to be probed. Because we need to engage the MPs, because we know we've given the mandate to finance minister to give a great minister money to purchase fertilizer to help the affected areas. So they should come clear so that we probe the matter to know the fact of the matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, now, Honorable Member for Bole Bamboy.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Majority Leader for the business statement. Mr. Speaker, I have a few issues that I want to draw his attention to. The first one has to do with the importation of rice and grains by the Ministry of Agric. There is a letter that I have in my hand here where the Minister of Agri had written to Minister of Finance asking for some tax exemptions so that they import grains, rice, and what have you in order to mitigate what they refer to as crisis with respect to the drought in the northern part of this country. Mr. Speaker, there is a need for us to bring the Minister of Agri to this House to come and tell us how he got the tax exemptions without parliamentary approval. He shouldn't be allowed to undermine this House. It is only this House that can give tax exemptions. And so we need him here to come and tell us whether indeed he's gone ahead to secure, because some rice importers have even petitioned the minister, and I have a copy of the letter here. Mr. Speaker, sometimes there's no crisis. Our colleagues on the other side will create crisis in order to make some benefit out of it. When we talk about drought, when there's a drought, let's say this year, the impact is normally felt in the subsequent year. There's a drought for 2 months, and we started talking about crisis. I think that it is going to be a self-created crisis in order for people to make money out of it. And this must be stopped. Mr. Speaker, my second issue has to do with the withdrawal of the military from GBC. There is a need for the defense minister to come to this House and give us reasons why GTV, why he withdrew the military officers from GBC. This is something that we have all grown to see. I have seen them since I became active in politics, and so I don't know why all of a sudden, especially in an election year like this, that the defense minister is withdrawing the military from that outfit. I think that we need him here to come and tell us why he's doing that. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, the minority leader, the majority leader, both talked about the issue of Galamsey. This very House, unfortunately, passed a law, Act 2462, to allow people to do, whether it's legal or illegal, small-scale mining in our forest. I think it's unfortunate, and I want to appeal to this great House that we repeal this act. We must find a way of repealing that act. And so I want to appeal to the majority leader. Majority leader, if you are listening to me, majority leader, if you are listening to me, I appeal to you that this House must find a way of repealing Act 2462 in the interest of this country. If indeed we are allied, if we are committed in fighting Galamsey and illegal mining, and if we are committed in ensuring that our environment is protected, then this law must be repealed and repealed immediately. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I want to thank you and to hope that very soon I'll be sitting at the right side of you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Yes, Suhini. Honorable Suhini.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the business statement that has been made ably by the soon-to-be minority leader. I mean, the majority leader, forgive me. Mr. Speaker, I wish to reiterate the call made by Honorable Haruna Idrisu on the majority leader, who is also the leader of government business, to see to it that as soon as possible, especially this week, the House should find time to invite the ministers responsible for environment, the minister responsible for Lands and Natural Resources, and the National Security Minister, and if possible, the Minister responsible for Defense, to brief the House, as the Honorable Haruna Idrisu has stated, on how much has been expended so far on this fight against Galamsey that is never ending, and what our successes have been so far, and the lessons that we have learned that can impact whatever fight we intend to wage now and in the future. Mr. Speaker, whilst at that, I also wish to indicate that it is important that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources is also called upon to submit before this House all the mining licenses that we are told have been issued in the last 2 to 3 years. Mr. Speaker, it is alarming to note that in the last 4 years, over 2,000 mining licenses, we are told, have been issued. And Mr. Speaker, if you look at the 1992 Constitution, Article 2681 and 2 clearly states, and with your permission, I quote, "Any transaction, contract, or undertaking involving the grant of a right or concession by or on behalf of any person, including the government of Ghana, to any other person or body of persons, howsoever described." That's why I'm stating, however so described, for the exploitation of any mineral, water, or other natural resources of Ghana made or entered into after the coming into force of this Constitution shall be subject to ratification by Parliament. The Speaker 2 says that Parliament may, by resolution supported by the votes of not less than 2/3 of all members of Parliament, exempt from the provision of clause 1 of this article any particular class of transactions, contract, or undertakings. Mr. Speaker, I am unaware of this House granting any exemptions. And that is why it is important that, especially given the alarming nature of the licenses that have been issued within this period, we demand that those licenses be brought before this House for thorough examination and possible rejection or ratification. Mr. Speaker, our constituents are demanding of us. They want to know what our role is as far as this fight is concerned. And I think the first step this House has to undertake, or the first step we have to take, is to ensure that we look into the way and manner these licenses have been issued and play our role as expected of us under Article 2681 and 2. So, Mr. Speaker, I reiterate the call for the ministers responsible for this fight to brief us on the issue of accountability and how much has been expended so far and what the gains are and the lessons that have been learned. And I also demand that the licenses that have been issued for the exploitation of these minerals be brought to this House for ratification. And I hope that it will be contained by the majority leader and space will be found for all of this to be done this week. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Honorable Dafiamapo.
Speaker, thank you once more for the opportunity to comment on the business statement. Speaker, in doing so, let me quickly make my first point, which is to the effect that the majority leader mentioned that government is preparing a package for some 800,000 distressed farmers who suffered some drought. Mr. Speaker, it's a House of Records. Mr. Speaker, sometime on 26th of August this year, the ministries of Agric, the Finance Ministry, as well as the Ministry of Defense got together and held a press conference and announced that the number of farmers were 900,000. And again, they declared a policy of cessation of grain exportation across our borders and deployed the military to the borders to enforce this policy. So the numbers between 800,000 and 900,000 is very significant. and we need to agree on these numbers. Mr. Speaker, again, as a House, we want to know how the data of the 800,000 or the 900,000 were gathered, and which entity determined the names of these farmers and from where. Mr. Speaker, regarding the matter of the distribution of fertilizers, Speaker, as I speak to you, the consignment that is supposedly sent to Southern in my name is sitting in the residence of the DCE, who is also the MPP parliamentary candidate. And he says that I should come and beg him. I should come to his house and come and beg him, kneel down before he will give the fertilizers. So, Mr. Speaker, these matters are very serious matters. You give MP 400 fertilizers to distribute in Ketu South. How is she supposed to do that? You allocate 400 fertilizers to an MP in Southern to give to some fertilizers, to some farmers. Who am I supposed to give to and who am I supposed to leave out? So as MPs, we are not supposed to be fertilizer distributors. And the fertilizers that are supposed to be given to the MPs are supposedly given to the DCEs, who in a lot of the constituencies are doubling as our opponents in the political contest that is raging on. So this matter ought to be interrogated and the proper things done, because there will be an accountability tomorrow. If a fertilizer is supposed to come to Southern and it doesn't go to the right people, the entities that are responsible will have to account for it. Mr. Speaker, my last point. The Electoral Commission, as we speak, is supposedly exhibiting the provisional register. And Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Regulation 23(1) of CI 126, the exhibition of the voters' register has a formula provided. The register has to be exhibited at the registration center where it was conducted. If you ask that my grandmother in the village should go online and check her name, how is she supposed to do that? In any case, as part of the exhibition processes, if I want to challenge somebody's name on the register, there are processes provided under the law. So the only online exhibition being conducted by the Electoral Commission, indeed within a limited period between today and sometime on Thursday, is irregular, mostly irregular. So the Electoral Commission must learn to conduct its own functions of office in accordance with the law that sets it up. Mr. Speaker, with these words, I thank you for the opportunity.
Majority Leader, you may respond to the comments.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I listened to my colleagues and all the views they've expressed. Specifically, Honorable Harun Idrisu called on us to ensure that the MPs are part of the distribution of the fertilizers and all the support. That the support, Mr. Speaker, the support that government is giving to the farmers affected include cash and fertilizers. He is saying that the MPs should be involved in such support. So that is his call. So he's not against the support. All he's saying is that the MPs should be involved. Mr. Speaker, the MPs have been involved. The minister made a public announcement. And in that announcement, he called on stakeholders to work closely with him. Honorable Defiamako is saying that it is not the duty of an MP to distribute fertilizers. So I think that we need to reconcile his point and that of Honorable Harun Idrisu's point. But Mr. Speaker, the most important thing is that people have been affected by this drought situation.
And they are getting support from government. They are getting support from government. I didn't come out with the 800,000 figure. The 800,000 came from the minority leader. But Mr. Speaker, what is wrong if our farmers are getting 3,000? Farmers have lost their livelihood. Mr. Speaker, the farmers in the north have lost their livelihood. Especially the women. They've lost their millet. They've lost their maize, Mr. Speaker. And government is giving them cash to enable them feed. Should we watch them to die? Mr. Speaker, no. This government believes in social intervention and is supporting them. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that we should continue to support government to undertake this exercise. However, I agree to the suggestion that there should be greater transparency. That's one, I agree. Because in the process, the data regarding those who benefit must be known to all. So I agree to that one. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Harun Idrisu is very particular about the activities of the EC, that those items to be procured are supposed to be done on time so that we don't have problems at all. But Mr. Speaker, it is on record that the only time that the Electoral Commission could not ensure a single day voting in this country was in 2012. Was in 2012. That we voted in 2 days, 2012. But after 2012, we have not had any such problem. So I would want to take solace in the fact that 2016, 2020, the Electoral Commission did commendably well. And we should encourage them to do better as compared to what they did in 2012, where we couldn't do it the same day. So, Mr. Speaker, his call comes at the right time, and I support that call. On the issues of procurement, I believe that when they appear before us, they will be able to tell us the challenges that they are facing. Mr. Speaker, it's on record that any time we invited the EC chair, she appeared before us. So let's encourage her to come again to address our concerns. Mr. Speaker, I believe that these are about all the points that were raised. I avail myself for further responses as the questions come. Thank you.
Yes, Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, at the Business Committee meeting, a minority leader raised two very important, actually he made two important proposals. One was a proposal for a decision day, possibly on Wednesday, and I think that the Honourable Monteka has suggested a Thursday. He also made a proposal for us to sit on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and made a strong proposal that it will help this House in accomplishing what we have set out to do, especially in this time of our election where members to focus not only on the election but the important parliamentary duties. So we'll be really focusing on that. The majority leader did not necessarily oppose it. In fact, he was amenable to that. But that did not find expression in the business statement. And so I think it's important that members know that these issues were raised. The majority leader supported it. And I think it's important for him to state publicly on this view so that we can go from there. We think that it is a win-win proposal that allows us to focus the important parliamentary business while at the same time having enough time to deal with the critical election that is left with less than 2 months. I thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Neil Ante-Vanderpoel.
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the majority leader has just made things a bit confusing for me. You're talking about a policy decision that you have taken to assist farmers presumably affected by drought. You have a figure and you have a budget, meaning you've done your own assessment and know the people who have been affected and where those people are located. Our colleagues here, especially the Honourable Member of Parliament for, is it Sene, has made a critical case of a possible parliamentary bipartisan committee to investigate this so-called handout to affected farmers. I was expecting the leader to look at that issue and that call, because all of us here are asking that if you are being able to determine that 3,000 cedis per person is enough to take care of those affected, then you would have done the necessary research and calculated everything. And so there's nothing wrong telling us here in Parliament, since you are our leader, that these are the people who are affected in these parts of the country, and not just stand here and tell us in the north. Where in the north? Today, we have northern region, northeast, savannah, and you can't just come and stand and say north. Where in the north? Which part of the north? And what was the criteria used in doing the assessment and coming to the conclusion that they will need 3,000 cedis per person? These are things that we must know. Because if people ask us outside, as members of Parliament representing them, we should be able to explain to them convincingly how this is going to be done. So, Mr. Speaker, I think immediately the call by the Honourable Member of Parliament for Senate must be looked at, so that we don't have enough time. So we look at this situation critically. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I get very worried when I hear comments like, let's come together, when the issue of Galamsey and the effects on the environment is raised. Mr. Speaker, the other issue is, let's take politics out. Mr. Speaker, I believe that whatever we do here is politics. We have elected a political party to govern us. The same political party has appointed political activists to head various institutions. Mr. Speaker, and therefore we cannot take politics out of it. Mr. Speaker, what is lacking is the fact that people do not want to take responsibility. Leadership has failed. And therefore, leadership must take responsibility for what is going on. We don't need to unite. I don't see where the unity comes in. It is about seeing empirical evidence that people are cutting down cocoa trees. And therefore, we don't need to unite to get the soldiers, the police, to arrest those who are doing that. Mr. Speaker, we have leadership. And because leadership has failed, that is where we have gotten to where we are. So, Mr. Speaker, the issue about we coming together has no place in this. We have laws that govern exploitation of minerals in this country. The laws are not being adhered to. Who is responsible? Let us hold them responsible and stop being hypocritical about this. When it shoots, we say, yes, we unite. Today we have, an appointee has taken a decision to share 3,000 to farmers. Did we unite? How did we get there? A decision has been taken. The responsibility must be taken by leadership. When leadership fails, let us accept responsibility. That is the way to go. I see this all as just a gimmick. People are just involved, and they cannot look in the faces of their colleagues who are involved to stop them, and that's what is happening. On that note, Mr. Speaker, that issue about let us come together, I don't see how it is going to solve the problem. Let us take responsibility as leaders. Otherwise, let us get away from whichever office that we are occupying now and get people who are responsible and competent to take charge of these institutions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No.
Minority Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. When my colleague was making the point for the call for our colleague, the Minister of Agri, to come clearer, one of the main points he made was to apprise the House on the methods used to procure the items, i.e., how were the suppliers selected? What is how much we are spending on this? How did they determine the amount of money to be given to each farmer? Is there data? The tax waiver, yes. Also on the how the importers got tax waivers for importing the rice and other things. And Mr. Speaker, they talk about drought in the north, and we colleagues from the north are saying that which part of the north are you talking about? And how were you able to determine how much loss they are going to incur in terms of the grains and other things? So the Minister of Agri cannot just because the speed at which the comment came and then the procurement, it's as if the procurement for the grains was almost effected before they talk about how many people are affected. Mr. Speaker, those are the things that our colleagues talked about when they were talking about this. So maybe let the leader take note of this and make the Minister of Agri. And then, Mr. Speaker, lastly, what Honorable Member for Senate spoke about. Mr. Speaker, it is widespread information that the Minister of Agri gave fertilizers to members of Parliament to distribute. Mr. Speaker, as a matter of fact, the letter the Minister wrote to me, copied the Agri Minister, said the MPs should assist the DCE in selection of 100 farmers. Yes, that's the letter I read, Mr. Speaker. And I said, we have 32,000 farmers in Adaklu. I have no method of selecting 100 out of them. So, Mr. Speaker, when they finished the distribution, an electoral area in Adaklu got 22 bags of fertilizer. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you, do you know what they are doing? They open the fertilizer bags like rice and put a cap on it and are distributing. Because the whole electoral area of 5 towns have got 22 bags of fertilizer. So, do you really mean to help farmers, or is just cosmetic, or you just want to muddy the waters? Because 22 bags of fertilizer cannot be shared to over 4,000 people. How are you expecting them to share that? So, Mr. Speaker, the Minister, our colleague, is here. Let him explain his intention of writing that letter and how effective that exercise is supposed to be.
Yes, Honorable Helen Ntoso.
We've had this been up.
Sorry, who has been up?
Mr. Speaker, with respect, Honorable Brian Achampon.
Oh, I'll get.
Mr. Speaker, because of the.
Yes, you are right. You are right. I've taken notice of him now. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I would like to know from the Minister for Agri, when we talk about drought in this country, it means that he's talking about the northern part of the country. Drought is a disaster. May I know from the minister, because when it comes to disasters, I know that it is NADMO that is responsible, is the lead agency to be in charge of drought, which is a national disaster. Did the Ministry of Agri work with the National Disaster Management Organization? Because when it comes to disaster and giving out monies or relief, they've got to have the data, households. You cannot just say you were giving an individual 3,000 Ghana cedis. You've got to look at the household, because some of the households is 3 people in the household, 5 people. For international standard is 5. So how did they come about with the data that they are going to use to distribute this money. And if you're talking about drought, the vegetation in the northern region is not different from the vegetation in OT region. So if they are saying that there was drought in the northern region, are they saying that they didn't see anything like that happen in the OT region? So I think that the data that they have, Mr. Speaker, it is not a true data that the Ministry of Agriculture or the Ministry of Agric is having. They have to consult the MPs in the various constituencies to work with them and to work with NADMO so that they can have the credible data for this distribution of monies that they want to undertake. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
May we hear from the minister, since he's around, the Minister for Food and Agric, then we can continue with the comments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I do acknowledge that this is a business statement, and so I will be very brief, just to clear some misconceptions and confusion. Starting with my respected Honorable, we have not declared a national disaster or a drought. What we mentioned was that it is a dry spell. A dry spell. And a dry spell is totally different from a drought condition, which would have necessitated the declaration of a national disaster. A dry spell, a near drought condition, is not a drought. It's not a declaration of a state of emergency. Please, it is very, very important. We have not declared a drought. We said a dry spell. A dry spell. You can play back my statement. You can play back all my press conferences. It was a dry spell. Number two, we have not said anywhere that we are giving 3,000 cedis to any farmer. We have not said anywhere. In my press conferences from the beginning, I mentioned that we are going to give 1,000 Ghana cedis per farmer. Number three, Mr. Speaker, we have delivered fertilizers under different programs. The first one was the grant fertilizers, which we gave to every farmer that is registered on the Ghana Agriculture and Agribusiness platform. We gave them grant fertilizers. We also gave members of parliament fertilizers to be given to vulnerable, the very vulnerable farmers that you will identify. So if you have a copy of the letter, that I gave to you, and every member of parliament has a copy of that letter, if you read the letter, it is clear that this, if you can identify very vulnerable farmers in your constituency, we are allocating these fertilizers to you to give to these very vulnerable farmers, up to 100 of them. That was stated in the letter. And we requested that if you identify these vulnerable farmers, make sure that they are registered on the GAB, give them the fertilizers, and then give us a list of those farmers. So we did not ask you to open the bag of fertilizers and distribute them as though you are giving a cup of fertilizer to farmers. That is not what the instruction is. You have a copy of the letter. You can apprise Ghanaians what the instructions were. If you read the instructions that were given, I'm sure that the right thing shall be done. Mr. Speaker, the grant fertilizers, the fertilizers to the vulnerable farmers, is totally different from the fertilizers that we are delivering to the dry spell farmers. That we just started moving those fertilizers into the regions. And we have asked all stakeholders, including members of parliament, to ensure for accountability and transparency that those farmers are registered on the Ghana Agriculture and Agribusiness platform, because that is the only way a farmer can be identified and given support. And that is why we have invited members of parliament, district chief executives, and community leaders to help register the farmers so that we can account properly to Parliament, we can account to the Ghanaian people where the resources of state is going to. So it's transparent. If you so happen, and I've had several members of Parliament who've had their fertilizers in a way withheld by DCs, and I've received calls. I don't want to mention names. If I'm dead, I will. That I have personally called these DCEs to release the fertilizers to my colleague members of Parliament who are having challenges getting the fertilizers. In fact, I have had cause to, on one occasion, call the leader of the minority about the situation. So there's total transparency in how we are delivering government resources to the Ghanaian people. We encourage all farmers through their leadership, through their leaders, to help the farmers register so that we can give the farmers, nobody anywhere can receive inputs from the Ministry of Agriculture without being properly registered, so that we can come and account to the Ghanaian people. So it is important that we set out the confusion. I'm going to come back in any statement, in whatever form, to give proper accounts to the Ghanaian people. How we procured inputs for distribution for the dry spell. We went through the processes. Mr. Speaker, with the permission of the right question, I'll come here to the floor and answer to the Ghanaian people the level of transparency with which we are implementing this government program. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to quickly make a point after the minister responsible for agriculture just spoke. Mr. Speaker, I say this because December last year, Parliament approved a budget for the Minister for Agriculture. That budget did not anticipate 800,000 farmers, of which you will pay 1,000 Ghana cedis each to, according to your own numbers. Mr. Speaker, that budget did not anticipate expenditure of 3-point-something billion for dry spell. And for the minister to spend that kind of money without parliamentary approval, Mr. Speaker, that is the question. And the members of Parliament want to find out, was this properly appropriated? Was this properly appropriated? Mr. Speaker, that is the question. And Mr. Speaker, we are aware that they are awarding contract for the purchases of rice. And we want to know how this is being distributed. Mr. Speaker, and we want to know the scientific way in which they came across the way this was done. Mr. Speaker, and that is why we are raising this question. Because expenditure of about 3 billion. Mr. Speaker, we are concerned because not long ago, this country went into crisis because of the way COVID money was spent. COVID money was spent. Are we going to hide behind the same dry spell and send this country to another crisis? Mr. Speaker, we should get involved. In an election year, we should get involved. And that is why we are saying that the minister must be invited properly. He must appear to this, he must appear before us properly, and then present to us what is called the so-called dry spell and the amount of money you are spending, because we have not approved for you to spend any money on this dry spell. We have not approved for you. So please come properly and let us actually look into the details of what you are spending. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, please don't let this be lost onto you. Just comments on the business statement.
Mr. Speaker.
That have been present. Just comments on business statement. The other issues you are raising, we have tools to handle them as we go along. Please, comments on the business statement. Honorable Bernard Ahiafo has been on his feet for some time. Let me listen to him. Then
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Adjustable has been.
After that, I
have been on my feet for a long time too, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much.
Going to Honorable Sarah Adjoa Safo. I was just going to mention your name, and you decided to interject. And you are happy laughing.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for finally acknowledging me on
I had been on my feet for a while. So when you started Honorable, I thought you were going to call somebody else. That's why I interrupted. I sincerely apologize, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
I've been called Bernard Ahiafo. So sit down. Sit down. After me, Speaker will recognize you.
No, Mr. Speaker was asking why I was busily laughing, and so I just stood to actually explain why I was a bit out of order. That's why, Mr. Speaker. I sincerely apologize.
Please go on.
I have the floor.
Yes.
All right, sir. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I was on my feet because I was a bit lost on what we were doing on the floor. Because I remember the majority leader rising and presenting the business statement. But the question line and the line of questioning from most members that have been on their feet is asking for further and better particulars on the issue about fertilizers, the issue about members getting involved, which I thought I was going to catch your eye early to draw your attention to the fact that we could invite the minister to come in the form of a statement, or members will file a question properly so-called within the scope and ambit of our standing orders, so that he can properly prepare and come in. Because standing orders talks about relevance. So I was flipping through the business statement, the 3-page business statement of the majority leader, and I couldn't find the basis for the questioning. But Mr. Speaker, you rightly intervened and actually cautioned members that this is the time for business statement, and our comments should be restricted to what has been presented by the majority leader. So I am not saying that the concerns being raised by members should be brushed off or are not necessary. That is not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that let's do what our rules permit us to do, which is that if we have genuine concerns about how fertilizers are being distributed and whether we've actually authorized the minister or approved any finances for that, I think that we would be fair to the minister if we file proper questions or we ask him to present a statement. Then we can all debate the statement thoroughly, both sides. But now the way it looks is as if we're taking him out of the blues. It's like, Mr. Speaker, when you're practicing and you get to the law court and your opposing counsel just pulls out something out of the blues. We call it ambush litigation. It's as if we're catching the minister ambush. So he would be able to provide some level of answers to what we're asking, but I think that this is a house of record. Everything that we're saying here would be in the hazards for posterity to judge. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's give him time to prepare and present a proper statement or file questions where he will be given ample time to answer, Mr. Speaker. I thank you for the opportunity, but you've rightly ruled that we should stay within what is being discussed, which is the business statement for today. So, Minority Leader, you are out of order, so come properly. Thank you.
Honorable members, may we listen to Honorable Bernard Ahiafo. Again, I emphasize we are dealing with a business statement, and let's restrict our comments to that. Yes, Honorable Bernard Ahiafo.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I know we are commenting on the business statement, but there are some matters emanating from the Agri Minister which we must clear the doubt. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, the information in my constituency is that I, Bernard Ahiafo, MP for Akachi South, has been given fertilizers, but I went and sold the fertilizers. Mr. Speaker, I intend taking a legal action against those who are making such statements against me. Mr. Speaker, for the minister to say that members of parliament have been given fertilizer, and I know from my side that members, including Bernard Ahiafo, was not given any fertilizer.
The district chief executive never even called me about fertilizer. The agric director never even called me about fertilizer. I have not received even one bag of fertilizer. So, Mr. Speaker, once this is a house of record, we need to clear the air that I have not received even one cup of fertilizer, let alone going to sell it. Mr. Speaker, if the minister is picking and choosing, then that is a different thing altogether. Because I know my opponent contesting me on the ticket of MPP has been distributing fertilizers, but I do not have a single bag. If that is what they are doing, then there is a need for the general public to be aware of it, and my constituents should listen to me, that I am standing on the floor of Parliament to make this declaration that I have not received a single bag of fertilizer. If the minister is here and you can prove that I, Bernarda Hereford, have received a single bag of fertilizer, stand up and say it for the general public to hear. I have not received a bag of fertilizer from you.
Honorable members, let me allow the majority leader to respond to some of the comments. The minister, yes, Minister for Food and Agric, you have a say.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's important that we put it on record that I, Brian Champo, Minister for Food and Agriculture, I have dispatched to Honorable Ahiafo in his name 300 bags of NPK, 100 bags of urea. That fertilizer was received at the district agric office, okay, in his name. I have given Honorable Ahiafo a letter to that effect, and all he has to do is to, if he has not, I have sent it to him in his name. It has been received in the district, nationwide. I have every record. I have every record of fertilizers that has been sent to every district. And so, if you have not received your fertilizer, please go to your district office. The fertilizer is there, and in the unlikely event that they tell you that it is not, come back to me. I'm your colleague, and especially I'm your friend, and I'll make sure that you get it. We were on this floor when your leader mentioned that he has received his fertilizer, but it was not in the quantities that will satisfy his whole constituency, and that he had to distribute them in cups. So it is not true that we discriminated the distribution of fertilizer across the country. I can mention every MP from your side who has received fertilizer on top of my head. Please, it has been sent to you in your name. Go to your district, collect the fertilizer, and give to the vulnerable farmers as we have dictated in the letter. And if you have any challenges, please let me know, and I'll help you, my friend. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, the exchanges are now going beyond comments on the business statement. Minister, you may need to get time to come to brief the House with the details you have. Just responding now, pages, it could be off tongue, because now you just stated that you can say off the cap the fertilizer you've sent to each and every member of Parliament, and you can say off the cap which member of Parliament received, because you say received the fertilizer. Now his issue is that he is being said to have received them and he sold them. Now if you can tell off the cap of your head, can you tell us whether he in particular received, because you are making it on the floor of the House, and this is a very serious matter, whether he received the fertilizer?
Mr. Speaker, it was a process. First, First is to notify the Member of Parliament that we are going to send 300 bags of MPK, 100 bags of urea to you. We first send the letters to the Members of Parliament, both sides. I sent it to the leaders, and I know that they distributed it to their members. That was the first step. The second step is that we sent the fertilizers to the districts. And every member of parliament was to collect the fertilizer from the district and give it to 100 vulnerable farmers. And then after distribution, submit the list to the ministry. Mr. Speaker, I am aware that every district in this country, the ministry has dispatched the fertilizers to. I am also aware that in some districts, the members of parliament on both sides are having challenges with the DCEs. Mr. Speaker, you have cases where on our side, members of parliament that are not contesting are having challenges with their DCEs in collecting the fertilizers. I am also aware that, for example, the MP for Ejura on this side called me that the DCE does not want to release the fertilizer to him. I called the DCE myself, and the DCE released the fertilizer to him. So I can appreciate that there are challenges from the district to the MPs. But so far as we have distributed the fertilizers to the district in their name, I expect that if they have any challenges to come back to me, and I will ensure, as I have done for more than 5 members of parliament on this side, I will ensure that they receive the fertilizer. Mr. Speaker, I will be surprised that my respected honorable member of parliament has received fertilizers for vulnerable farmers and are selling those fertilizers. I cannot believe that, and I can vouch for him that he will not be able to do that. But one thing I can say is that we have sent the fertilizers to his district, and if he has challenges accessing the fertilizers, he can prompt me, and I'll make sure that he gets it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister, you know what is meant by direct service. Direct service. If you issue fertilizer in the name of a member of parliament, after having given notice to the member of parliament and giving the member of parliament the letter, and then direct the fertilizer to the district office, that is not direct service. They should have been directed straight to the member of parliament, and the member will receive them, and then the documents will show that they have been received by the member of parliament. But when you direct them to the district office, then you create a problem there. And that is what is happening. And you know this is your election season. Both sides, it's election season, and I know the dynamics involved. It's not only on the opposition side, even the government side, the infighting there, which is more vicious than even the opposition side. So please, I think there's some problem there, but maybe you want to clarify it. You may do so.
The country and parliament would demand accountability from me. And the processes for distributing such is through the district assembly, as is done through common fund. You have to send it to the district assembly for the assembly to receive it in their stores and then release to the member of parliament. I'll be very happy if the rules of government allows me to take fertilizer from the ministry and just directly send it to my colleagues.
It's not me saying you should do it, but your statement
that is the process
has created the impression that the fertilizers are to be given directly to the members of parliament. But as you said, governance is about using government officials and government agencies. And so you have to route them through that. As to whether they have reached the members of parliament, that one you have to follow through later. And your attention has been drawn to the challenges they've been meeting. So in making statements, you don't say, you can say off the cap of your head as to what has reached this and what hasn't reached this. There are challenges along the way. And he in particular raised his challenge, and his constituents are listening to him. You see, and so this is a very delicate, very serious matter when it comes to elections, particularly in Ghana. So this is not the time for this kind of exchanges. As the minister himself has proposed, we can find space to go through this in detail, honorable members, so that we'll get a clarification for you to go back to your constituencies. By any case, don't be worried about these things because the people have already decided. It's not this your current interventions. I've been in politics for a long time. I know I always win my elections long before election time. You know, it's not during just these few days that you win elections. And that's why I kept on drawing your attention to your performance for all the 4 years, not just 1 month or 1 week to election. May I allow please, we have to end this matter and move to other business. It's just business statement. I just want to get the response from the majority leader as chairman of the business committee. Please. Business statement. Well, if you are going on to a different issue on the business statement, then I'll start with my usual seniority, which is the order of Parliament. I'll start with Honorable Cletus Avoka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from practice, or past experience, we know that we have this October to stay in Parliament, and then November we will break so that honorable members can go and campaign for 7th December election. I was thinking that the business statement will indicate how long we are going to be in the House between today and the other end of October or first week of November, so the members will know the period ahead of them and program themselves. But as at now, we don't know how long we are going to be in Parliament. We don't know whether it will take another 2 weeks to be here or 3 weeks to be here, so that we can adequately program ourselves and then address the issues that we have in our respective constituencies. So I thought that if the majority leader knows the type of business he has presented just for this week, the type of business, he shall indicate what he wants us to do for the next 2 weeks, at least up to the end of October or first week of November. And then by consensus, we agree whether we have 2 weeks left or 3 weeks left for us to work and then be able to go to our respective constituencies to finalize our campaign and the elections. In the absence of that, I think that it will be very, very difficult for members to work within the ambit of the time that we have. We don't even know how long we can be here. So once he's here, he knows the business that government has. He should indicate to us how long we are going to be here and when we are breaking for elections. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Jinapo.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, this is not on the issue of the fertilizer. If you look at the business statement on page 1, you see presentation of first reading of bills.